Welcome back to Fighting Assumptions, where we take the idioms, paradoxes, and common sense ideas that society accepts without question and put them under the microscope. Today, we are tackling a heavyweight. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? It's the undisputed champion of circular reasoning, the ultimate rhetorical question used to describe a situation where it seems impossible to tell what caused what. For centuries, philosophers from Aristotle to Plutarch used this question to express the infinite, unanswerable nature of life. They assumed it was an endless loop. They were wrong. Science actually has a definitive, undisputed answer to this question. The assumption that this is an unresolvable paradox is false. From a biological and evolutionary standpoint, the egg came first. Period. Here is the deep dive into exactly why, how, and where the first chicken actually came from. If we take the question entirely literally, what came first, a chicken or an egg? The answer isn't just the egg. It's the egg by a staggering margin of time. For billions of years, life reproduced in the oceans. When animals began to transition to land, they faced a massive problem. Their eggs would dry out. Amphibians got around this by staying near the water, but to truly conquer the land, life needed a biological spacesuit. This is where the amniotic egg comes in the story. Around 340 million years ago, a group of four-limbed vertebrates evolved to lay eggs with three distinct fluid-filled membranes and a leathery or calcium-based outer shell. This evolutionary marvel allowed embryos to develop in their own private, hydrated environment on dry land. Birds, reptiles, and mammals all stem from these early amniotes. The modern chicken only evolved about 10,000 years ago. So, in the grand timeline of Earth, the egg was sitting around waiting for over 339 million years before a chicken ever showed up. But wait, the contrarians will say. That's a linguistic loophole. The question obviously implies a chicken egg. Which came first, the chicken or the chicken egg? Even if we narrow the parameters to the specific species of the modern chicken, the egg still wins. To understand why, we have to look at how speciation works at the genetic level. Evolution is not a sudden metamorphosis. A dinosaur didn't suddenly sprout wings and fly. Changes happen incredibly slowly through genetic mutations passed down from generation to generation. The domestic chicken's primary wild ancestor is the red jungle fowl, a bird native to Southeast Asia. Thousands of years ago, humans began interacting with and domesticating these birds. Let's imagine the very edge of this evolutionary transition. We have two birds that are almost modern chickens, but not quite. Evolutionary biologists would call these proto-chickens. When these two proto-chickens mated, they combined their DNA to form a zygote, the very first cell of the offspring. During this combination, a tiny, subtle genetic mutation occurred. This mutation pushed the new organism across the genetic threshold, separating it from its parent species and making it the very first true chicken. That mutated zygote grew and developed inside an egg. Therefore, the first actual biologically recognizable chicken existed as an embryo inside an egg laid by a bird that was not a chicken. The egg containing the first chicken DNA had to exist before the first chicken could hatch from it. At Fighting Assumptions, we believe in looking at all the evidence. In 2010, a group of researchers from British universities caused a media frenzy that briefly convinced the world the chicken actually did come first. The researchers discovered a protein called ovocleidin 17. This protein is essential for speeding up the production of eggshell calcium inside the hen's reproductive tract. Because this protein is only found in the ovaries of chickens, the media concluded you cannot have a chicken egg without the chicken protein. Therefore, the chicken came first. But this assumption falls apart under evolutionary scrutiny for two reasons. First, the inherited egg. As we established, the very first true chicken hatched from an egg laid by a proto-chicken. The proto-chicken provided the shell using its own proto-chicken proteins, but the animal inside the shell was the first true chicken. Second, evolutionary ancestry. This protein is just an evolutionary variation of similar proteins found in the ancestors of chickens. Long before the modern chicken existed, ancient birds and dinosaurs were producing eggshells using older versions of these calcifying proteins. The chicken or egg dilemma is a wonderful philosophical metaphor, but a terrible biological puzzle. when two non-chickens mated and produced a genetically distinct embryo. That embryo had to undergo its gestation somewhere. It did so inside an egg. When that egg cracked, the world's first chickens stepped out. Paradox resolved. There is no question. In modern times, with so much information out there, everyone should be able to know this. At Fighting Assumptions, we try to stimulate people to question things and figure it out. We hope the story inspired you. Did you know Van Gogh actually sold hundreds of paintings? And that everyone already knew the Earth was round when Columbus set sail? Subscribe to Fighting Assumptions for more deep dives into the myths, adages, and misconceptions that shape our daily lives. Do you have an assumption you want us to tackle next? Leave it in the comments below.